So I'll tell you what your thoughts would be as leaders or as populations, as radio hosts, if you were Homo sapiens. If I was Prime Minister Carney in his role, I would say on record in front of as many international journalists as possible what a boundary is, because boundaries don't seem to exist in the economic world, okay, and which means economics will always devolve us as a species and devolve the human condition. So I would set a boundary. President Trump, in no way should you ever say 51st state again. If you do that, you cross a line, and it's so inappropriate that you obviously don't care if it is, or you obviously don't understand why it is. But so take my word for it, if you want to interact with Canadians and Canadian leaders, is you don't say that ever again. And of course he would. And that's when you have to act on a boundary if you're a responsible adult, right? If you've got life skills. And you would say, well, this is the plan now when it comes to disconnecting from you guys. It'll be a long-term plan so that neither one of us in this lose-lose scenario, because of your boundary breaches that are unacceptable, in your role especially, is that now we have to kind of separate ourselves from being too dependent on each other, and this is how it's going to go. When Ford doesn't want to put any changes in EV mandates because it'll kind of impact work of even one person or hundreds or thousands, he's missing the point of Ontario being on fire. So, and I'm not saying that transferring to the same amount of growing cars on the road that are EV or electric or whatever or hybrids is going to stop fires. It's not. But it really shows, again, the insanity of economics. Also, you should never refrain from saying to Netanyahu that they can't use the word terrorist inappropriately, right? You can't have somebody that disagrees with you somewhere on what the best football soccer team is and they're a terrorist, because that's, at this point, that's how they use it. Anything that's slightly different than what they want to do is these people are terrorists. So again, you have to say, please look up the word terrorist. Can we agree that if you're going to use it and I'm going to use it, if we're in interactions on the same subject, is you don't use it inappropriately? Again, that's setting a boundary of language so that there's no manufacturing of consent, okay, on either side, because when, let's say, Prime Minister Carney allows Netanyahu to use it inappropriately, then he's participating in the manufacturing of consent. This is what would happen if you were grown-ups, right? If we were Homo sapiens, if we had achieved civilization at any time in history, including now. But right now, when it comes to Denmark and Greenland, is whether Denmark is with NATO or not, or the states are with NATO or not, doesn't matter. If you don't want to repeat the cycles of history, which you will, okay, because there are too many unwell people in the U.S. regime and other parts of the world, right, in charge. You've passed the tipping points in the 1960s of being able to self-correct, and I can't believe in humanism anymore because of it. You give me too much evidence that is measurable that we cannot self-correct. And I'm a free thinker, I'm a critical thinker, so I can't believe in gods, and I have no evidence of extraterrestrials. So I'm pretty connected to reality, and it's not good, right? Our species are definitely the villains of history, and maybe unconsciously they know, and they're trying to turn this planet into a hellish global landscape, which is unfair to other species that are often measured as being more sentient and sapient than we are when it comes to living in the biosphere. So, of course, every country, shouldn't be any exceptions, should say, that is not okay, to even keep saying you want to buy Denmark. So I talked about lose-lose scenarios. Now I'm going to talk about win-win scenarios. Grown-ups, because if you want to really become a man, you excel at life skills in the way that you know how to creatively manifest win-win scenarios. So if there's things you want from Denmark, create a win-win scenario with them. The fact that you're pushing around a military and we're still moving around weapons instead of human thinking tools of de-escalation and conflict resolution shows again that I'm still in search of another Homo sapien on this planet, and it is an extremely lonely time of history as a self-actualized Homo sapien.